It's the Slam Dunk.
So Stan Maya planned legal action to stop the government cancelling the contract, and as a result of all this publicity, a short-term agreement has been found. So funding will be continued until April the 22nd next year, a short 3-month extension. So the pending court action or injunction is on hold. But this is far from ideal and provides no certainty. This vital service still faces closure in 90-odd days. And this is where the rubber hits the road, you see, folks. These are New Zealand's most vulnerable kids and vulnerable families. They live a world away from the lives of normal New Zealanders, perhaps like you and I. We're talking about families from the far north, Hokianga, Whangarei, Warkworth, Wanganui, Waitakere, Wellington and way down south. They cover the country, right? And with Christmas just around the corner, these families and kids and the hundreds of staff have been distraught about the news of this closure. For whatever reason, crime, drugs, violence, gangs, abuse, broken families, truancy. These kids as young as 8 need and get intensive support. They haven't been to school for sometimes ever, or maybe not for a couple of years. So they get help, therapy, love, support, and life skills and all sorts of in-depth services from around 300 staff, mainly registered social workers. Ending this contract would have seen everybody lose their jobs and the families chucked out, left to fend for themselves, just 6 months into a 3-year contract signed between Oranga Tamariki and Stan Maya. Oranga Tamariki relies on Stan Maya because, well, when we hear kids are being referred to Oranga Tamariki, they then turn to this contracted service to place the families and children. To cancel something so immediately after it was signed is more than just a gross breach of faith. It's cold and callous and uncaring. And Oranga Tamariki says it has no concerns whatsoever about Stan Maya's performance. This is purely it's a cost-saving exercise in tough times. Isn't that brutal? But here's the crucial bit. I think this breaks the government's central promise, not to cut frontline services. This is one of the most visible and crucial frontline services in the country. You can go to Half Moon Bay in East Auckland, one of the sites of the old health camps, and see it in action. How many times has this government said and promised that frontline services won't be affected by their cuts? Well, folks, the pledge, the promise to not affect the frontline has always been a nonsense. And now it's been exposed for the lie that it truly is. Christopher Luxon has misled you. And this has been found out now, hasn't it? And now this health camp, which is the one in Auckland, is based at Half Moon Bay, is in Christopher Luxon's own electorate. How bloody embarrassing. What did he know? Did he stay silent? Was he simply unaware? Or was he asleep in charge of the country? Or did he approve getting rid of the service? What's his involvement? It'll come out. I thought he wanted to cut crime. I thought he wanted to get better outcomes for all New Zealanders. That's what he says. You've seen the videos. Dumping these families back on the scrap heap and pulling support for them will have disastrous consequences downstream. So much for investing in early intervention. This is what you might call a wraparound service. And so we dump it and wait for the kids to turn 20 and then spend the money when we send them to jail. Great outcome, Chris. Why is this happening? Well, and you've seen this today, the government is embarking on a new round of public service cuts because the economy is so weak. You've seen it today with the opening of the books, so weak. It's not getting enough revenue, it's run out of ideas, and it's now hacking into crucial public services with more cost savings across government agencies, except this time there's less fat and backroom jobs to cut. So to achieve the savings demanded by Luxon and the Cabinet, the front line's on the chopping block. And now we're seeing it in all its glory right now. And David Seymour came on this program a few months back and hinted of a second big round of cuts. Now you're seeing it. We broke the story then, now we're doing it. I encourage these charities, these providers, these organisations facing the chop to do the last thing left in the toolbox. That is to reach out to the media. Get hold of me or whoever you feel you can trust or rely on, and we can blow the whistle. That's why this government doesn't mind seeing the demise of the media. Because if we go, who tells your story? Who goes into bat for you? They ultimately don't want us here either. But you have to shoot me to get rid of me, because I'll tell these stories until I can no longer speak. Life isn't perfect. We'll always have vulnerable families and vulnerable kids, but surely we can't simply dump them and walk away in the name of some short-term cost savings, because the cost will just come back. It's uncaring, it lacks vision and smacks of a robotic government driven by the bottom line only, with people being a distant second.
Duncan Garner, live.